Oh, I thought you were doing. What was it? I have never met another. I thought you were doing that.
What? What song's that?
What is it? Casey Jojo. All my life.
How the hell does that sound like? That is the intro. Welcome back to podcast Heatcheck number 5. This has been fun as hell, man. Honestly, I just love talking basketball, and I get excited about coming to talk basketball.
Well, I mean, I can imagine why at the moment.
Exactly.
I can imagine why.
Tell me why I'm so happy right now, Tim.
I don't know. It could be a variety of reasons.
There is a variety of reasons. That
I mean,
I'm
have you
happy
pulled
right
any
now.
good cards lately?
No, I don't really pull cards. I just go get the cards that I like.
Okay.
Nothing to do with cards at the moment. Why I feel so good.
So why do you feel good?
Can you just puff your chest out a bit? I want the people at home to see what you're wearing.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
Oh, look at it. It's beautiful.
It's disgusting.
It is beautiful.
If you make bets, you pay.
You look like a nice green hedge that's been trimmed perfectly.
I feel like I want to walk back into a hedge and retreat into it.
You look like a perfect little hedge with a knot like that's just been trimmed by the old guy who cares to his yard. And what he's got is the most beautiful singlet on in the world, and accompanied by the greatest franchise of all time. What are those numbers on that banner in front of you? Do you mind?
I can't see. I think
You do need glasses, so
1918. I think it says.
There's about another. I don't know how many.
I don't know.
You don't know?
I don't know.
I'm sure you know very well.
Do you know what I do notice? Most of these look like they're really old years. This one seems to be a little bit more recent. But
yeah,
these
2008,
ones,
it was a hell of a year.
These
and
ones
you know
look
what?
a bit more lonely.
2022 is going to be another good year. Timothy, I'm very glad you kept up your end of the deal. You are an honourable man, I'll give you that. You're an honourable man. But it's so good seeing you in green, the Boston colours. It suits you.
It's a one night only.
It suits you.
It's a once-off performance.
That's okay.
A special
That's
engagement.
Okay. That's okay. We have a crap load to talk about today, my dude. And again, thanks everyone for tuning in. We are very grateful for everyone who comments. We're nearly at 100 subscribers, which for me is a bit of a milestone because, again, usually we share this conversation with the four walls of the room that we happen to be in. So the fact that we're sharing with a few people really makes us happy, and it makes me happy even more so when people reach out and either tell me how bad and how wrong I was, or how bad and how right or how good and how right I was, and same for Timmy. So thanks for joining us today. Now, let's dive straight into it.
The headline has to be.
A couple of videos ago, I made a bold prediction that the Celtics would make the conference finals. However, I will admit, I thought that they would get bounced by the Nets because I thought the Nets would go further than they did. But I'm happy. Serendipitous is the word that I would use here because it doesn't really matter. Like, it's a good outcome for me either way because Celtics, my favorite team, are in the final. Golden State, Steph Curry, one of my favorite players, is in the final. I'm a happy man here, Timmy.
It's not quite Sophie's choice for a Lakers fan, but it's not great. It's either Golden State winning or it's...
Yeah, who do you back here, dude? Who do you back? But I mean, what a silly question because like you're never going to back the C's.
The enemy of my enemy
is my
not enemy.
So your money's on
Golden State.
Golden State.
I mean, I think if you go back, that was my pick to win the West in the finals. If I'm not mistaken, for the predictions.
Yes, I think.
So
check that.
I'm still on track here. I will admit,
on track
Boston's,
for what? You've just write this year off. You're a winner in no way, shape, or form this year, mate.
Hey, if Boston doesn't win, it's not a win, but it's an avoided loss. It's like getting
Tim,
the draw in cricket.
You guys didn't make
Salvage
the
a draw.
playoffs with the second greatest player of all time and a stacked roster on paper.
We still have a recent title.
Oh, so what? So does Giannis and the Bucks.
To be fair, on that note, that's the only thing you can kind of hold against Boston. Like, they completely outclassed the Nets. There's no two ways about it. And I think they were better than the Heat, clearly. Even though it went 7 and even though it was close, I think they were the better team. Chris Middleton. Be interesting to see next year.
Oh, no. I've had this argument with many people on the internet. And yes, I have become... Look, I'm old now, right? I'm allowed to be that old grumpy bastard on social media who picks... internet fights about sports on sports forums. That's how I pass some of my time when I'm sitting on the toilet or just killing a few minutes.
But to clarify, this isn't an asterisk thing, but it's just one of those things where it's like, in context of Milwaukee returning next year, they will be a factor.
Yeah, well, I don't know. See, and where I was going with my previous point was, I've had many of arguments in the last few days with guys saying, was Chris Middleton actually that much of a difference maker? Now, we're a little bit going ahead in the schedule here, but we'll talk about it. Chris Middleton is a 20 PPG kind of guy. And everyone likes to use the argument, well, if he played, that'd be 20 points more and they would have won by 20. And that's not how this works, you absolute numbskulls. If Chris Middleton played, yes, statistically, he would have got
He gets a bump against Boston.
But
let's be fair.
But, yeah, he is a bit of their kryptonite. But that's easy to say. Like, you could have said something similar about KD. Everyone did about KD. Oh, it's KD. He's not going to get swept. He's going to have a huge game. He didn't. He got clamped. So you can't just go ahead and say he's their kryptonite because he did it last year. Well, look what KD did last year. It's all relative. What I'm trying to say is you don't just add 20 points to the Bucks, and the Bucks don't just win by 20 every night because Chris Middleton was on the floor. That 20 comes at the expense of someone else. Giannis gets less looks, someone else gets less looks, someone else is less efficient, someone doesn't shoot it more. So would he have been the difference maker? In my opinion,
in a series that went the distance?
No.
You don't think so?
No, I do not think so, because there are shots that Chris Middleton takes that he misses. There are shots that Giannis took in his place that he hit. So it's just one of those things that we'll never know. And let's take a step back. Let's talk about the Celtics' road to the finals, and we'll talk about the Golden State's road to the finals. And this might be a hot take, it might not. In my opinion, if the Celtics win the chip this year, they would have had one of the best finals runs, road to the finals in history, up there with Dirk's.
Absolutely.
How
not.
can you say that?
Because there's been injuries, not so much in the net series, but now admittedly they had their own as well. But there's injuries in both the series, so it doesn't become this case where
bullshit.
It's not the 2001 we knock off the Kings, we knock off the Spurs. Like the quality of opposition isn't that high.
Bullshit. Who Tatum and the boys had to run through to get to the finals and win the finals will be.
I'm not
saying.
Look,
I'm not
if
saying
they
better.
beat Golden State, that's the impressive part.
Yeah, I'm not saying better. I'm not saying better than Dirk's. Dirk's run was legendary, but this is up there. This is just behind, and you could argue if not the same, because they started the season, what, three games or three games under 500 nearly. Boom, spun it around, managed to clinch third or second. Managed to clinch one of the top seeds in the East, so they spun it around. Not only that, they then swept KD and them boys, who at the start of the season were projected favourites to win the title. We both sat here 2 podcasts ago and said they were going to win if Ben Simmons was healthy. They swept them boys. Sure, it was the closest sweep ever, but they swept them. Then they went to the defending champions. Beat Giannis, arguably the greatest player in the league. Sure, they were missing 20 points in Middleton, but they're a championship caliber team. They've been there before. So they've already beaten KD, who's going to retire top. If he wins 2 more, top 10. If he doesn't, top 12. Then they beat Giannis, who if Giannis wins again and gets another MVP, he'll be in that top 12 conversation. So he beat them.
I see what you're saying, but that's...
No, wait. Jimmy Buckets, he's not superstar status like the rest, but that organization is so well run. He is a playoff riser, and they were the number 1 seed. They beat the number 1 seed. So they've beaten KD and them boys, the favorites. They beat Giannis, the defending champions. They beat the number 1 seed in the East. And then to top it all off, if they can get this done, they beat Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, the greatest.
I think the impressive
one of the
part
greatest
is the last
duos of all
part.
time. How can you sit there and say it's nowhere near Dirk's?
Because Dirk beat a very good Spurs team, if I'm not mistaken. No, sorry, it was Portland. Portland in the first round.
Snore.
They sweep the Lakers, who are the 2-time defending champions.
Yep.
Which is impressive.
Agree.
They beat a very good OKC team, which was again impressive.
Very
and then
good.
They beat the Heatles in the finals.
Yes.
You can't beat that. Like, not in the modern era anyway.
But if we look at positioning, seeding, everyone they had to run
those
through.
Those teams were more bolstered than the teams Boston has played.
Every single team.
And they didn't have any major injuries.
Every single team, the Celtics theoretically beat, if they get the chips this year, had a chance of winning the title. We're either the 1, 2, 3, or 4. Phoenix were never going to win the title. I'm sorry.
We haven't had a chance to get in on this yet. So if I'm taking L's for the Celtic stuff, I'm enjoying what's happened to Phoenix.
Oh, me too.
I love it.
But pause. Okay. If you don't think it's comparable to Dirk's, how impressive is it? And take your biased Laker crap hat off.
I think the simple part of it is, if they beat Golden State, that's the impressive part.
So where does it put it in comparable to Dirk's run? Because Dirk's run is one of the greatest.
Dirk's run as a team isn't necessarily what's impressive about it. It's impressive that while there was a decent supporting cast and they were a well-balanced team, him not really having an outright superstar player on the team outside of himself is what was impressive.
And they weren't that good a team. Like,
they caught fire at the right time.
Season,
they caught fire at the right time.
On paper, they weren't that good. Dirk that was impressive. And like you said, going against LeBron and the Heat. But where do you rank this run?
What, in terms of modern comparisons?
Well, just in terms of it has to be up there with Dirk. There's no other comparison.
I don't think it beats the Raptors. Now the Raptors asterisk becomes the injury in the finals, obviously. But I think their Eastern Conference run isn't as impressive as the Raptors' Eastern Conference run.
Bullshit.
That Philly team was better with buckets.
Yeah, but that come down to literally one lucky shot by Kawhi.
But
bounce in the rim.
It doesn't matter if it's by inches or miles. Winning is winning.
Oh wow. Yeah. Well,
I mean, Game 7s again. If it's not for a Game 7 against the Heat, you're not in the finals.
The problem I have with this is the Celtics could have swept every single team into the road to the playoff. They could have beat the 0-1 Lakers and the 86 Celtics themselves, and you still would have said not good enough.
No, but they would have to do that. They would have to do. Okay, the 86 teams are arguably one of the most impressive teams. I'll give Boston some flowers then, if we're going to be neutral about it. They have the best home.
I want you to admit
the best home record of any season history. No,
I want your flowers. I want you to admit that this run is up there with Dirk's. Ain't gonna do it. Let's move on.
No,
Celtics run is impressive. Their team, their depth, their defense is amazing.
The shot making.
What in your opinion went right for them in postseason?
Defense. I guess keeping the right attitude in the moment, because it's easy to get caught up, especially when they've given up runs late in games, like the Game 7 against Miami. It's easy to get caught up in that moment. It's a crossover. At a certain point, you have to have the right decision. And you can melt. Look, how many players have we seen throughout history and just eating it for melting in the moment? Yeah. It's like, again, it's what I feel disgusting for this idea coming into my head, but that moment for them isn't too far off Game 7 Portland 2000. Okay, guys, I'll see you next season. Phil Jackson to Kobe and Shaq. So, okay, guys, see you later. We're not going to win. And, of course, they go on the run, finishing with the alley-oop. So, I don't want to say it that way because it just feels dirty now, but
so their defense...
It could be a history-making moment, the fact that they didn't fold in under that pressure.
Yeah, well, the media were coming out and saying Jaylen Brown and Tatum need to be blown up. They can't play together.
And I completely disagree. I think if you go back, it was the same thing.
To be fair, I was a hater. I said get rid of Smart. I did personally. I said we got to get rid of Smart because Boston's never been elite without a good big.
And I'll return to it. What did you say about Tatum?
He's not that guy? I was on the no. I said I was on the fence about Tatum. Tatum's that guy. Well, Jaylen Brown's that guy too. Marcus Smart's that guy. I mean, Al Horford is.
He's got ice in his veins, right? Do you see him?
I did see him where look, I love Tatum, but that was tacky, and I didn't like it. Do you know, I didn't like it.
I didn't mind it, but what was tacky was the text, and screenshotting. Man. Even if he just sent the text and didn't tell anyone, that's fine. I know. When you send it and then you tell everyone, you screenshot it.
I like Tatum, but that was tacky, man. Chucking a Kobe wristband on, texting him, screenshotting it, posting it to social media.
Devin Booker in the sweepstakes to become
I didn't like it, man.
The greatest Kobe disciple.
It was a bit yuck. It was a bit yuck in my opinion. But okay, so in my opinion, what went right for the Celtics was defense and staying the course. They could have easily been thrown, and they could have easily tried to shake things up after a bad loss. But no, they stuck their course, and their switching is incredible. I like their They've been criticised for not having that much depth in their bench, but Peyton Pritchard, I love that boy, man. He can
people buy into their roles. The thing that just came to me as well, 08, multiple Game 7s, building the metal of the team. They were expected to do better than that. This team, multiple Game 7s. So it could be a
saying they're going to go ahead and win like 08 did?
I certainly hope not. The good thing is Golden State's not missing their starting centre and small forward, but...
Yeah, and look, I love this Boston team, man. They're number one ranked defense in the league. They've actually got a high offensive rating than Golden State, which is really interesting to me. But I know that doesn't mean anything.
It's in a vacuum, yeah.
Yeah, I know it doesn't mean anything. So let's talk about...
I think the defense, though, just to go back to that, that's legit. It's one of those things where, like in 2020, for example, Lakers been a better defense, or even 08 as well. The defensive metrics show up in the playoffs, and it's... People talk about, like, the rules are bent towards offense all the time, but look how many people tune in to watch these ugly, dirty Game 7s with just amazing defense in them.
Yeah. Oh, man. And
but then the criticism
talking
for Jimmy,
about before we move to Golden State, you know who I've really grown dislike for? I never minded this player previously, but after the Heat series, can you never guess at someone I've really grown to dislike from the Heat?
Kyle Lowry?
Yeah, Kyle Lowry, man. It's like he plays just to get fouled. It's like he plays just to take charges. Have you watched Chris Paul play? Chris Paul, at least Chris Paul, the point guard. At least Chris Paul.
Does he get that
looks
title
like
anymore?
He's got a bit of no, not anymore. But no, he still gets it. But Kyle Lowry, watching him in Game 7, I was just so pissed off at the acting that he was doing, man. And I mean, absolutely hate the idea of the charges in the NBA lately.
He's drawn the most in the league a few times, right? Like, it's a skill. It's a skill. Coaches love that.
Watching the charge just makes me sick to my stomach. You need to be set before. And that's, for some reason in the NBA, if you're set half a second before the player gets there, it's considered a charge. I don't understand that. So many times he would slide in front of the player, be there literally half a second and fall over and get the offensive charge. It pissed me off like he wouldn't play.
I mean, can you really complain about the officiating? Scott Foster was one of the referees in Game 7.
12-0 with us, baby.
Yeah, I was about to say 12-0.
Yeah, hey, give me Scotty all
day. That's reverse CP3 stats.
Yeah, Scott Foster, my guy. But all right. Haters will say, and I've had this argument on social media, injuries are the reason Celtics are in the finals, and you can't disagree. You cannot disagree.
I don't think it's that you can't acknowledge it, but it's not as bad as Phoenix was. Not to just keep burying Phoenix, although I do enjoy it. It's not on that same level. Like, really, you could just use it for because Boston had injuries in the Eastern Conference Finals as well. Exactly. So that's why I think you can use it for Milwaukee to an extent, but it's not like it was Giannis. Well, look,
I was a guy that I used to be the person that say
I've heard that one.
Title doesn't count because such and such.
Oh, I've heard that one.
I used to be that person, but
now that your team's in there,
it's called maturing, Tim, and I've since learned that it's part of the game. It's just. And this comes back to my problem with Giannis. I like Giannis. He's actually one of my favorite players in the league. I think like
he's
watching
the best
him
player
play.
in the world.
But
legit,
I absolutely hated his take last season when he sat there on his thing crying, saying we did it the hard way, acting like he basically ran through the East and that that bothered me because it's like, yes, dude, you got the chip, but you didn't earn it the hard way. You didn't earn it the hard way.
Being the last one standing counts. No, being the last one standing counts because that's part of it. I think as a team that loses, you can say, hey, we didn't have a full shot, we'll go at it next year, but you can't take that away from winning teams.
You can. Okay, look, no, you can't. Great, they got it done. But I hate it when superstars or stars get up and go, look, mama, we did it. We made it. We did it. It's just like, well, you did it, but injuries were a massive part. That you didn't do it because you ran through the teams and you were so. And that's again what makes Dirk's run so special. That's part of it, right?
Well, do they all have medical teams?
It's growing part of it. Yes, it's a growing part of it. Yes. So, all right, moving on to Golden State. What did Golden State do to get there? What did they do well to get there?
I mean, execution. It helps to have experience. It helps to have. I mean, I think it's 130 plus playoffs, like the amount of playoff games Golden State have between them versus the amount Boston not having any in the finals.
No, we're talking the.
I know, but goals. It's their experience. Now that being said, injuries were a factor there as well.
They were.
I will
was
say
out a couple games.
I will say I didn't have Memphis over them, but that did play a factor in that series, no doubt.
Yeah, I don't know. I like Ja. He's a good player, but he plays, in my opinion, more explosive than I've seen D Rose plays. And I'm worried for that kid's knees, man, because I'm just like, Ja literally jumps like he's going to put his elbow in the hoop every single possession, and the way he lands, I'm like, that's why actually.
Does it remind you of a young guy who's known for taking shots? And
yes, but funny story, Ja's play is the reason I've actually got out of collecting Ja cards, because I actually predict that he's gonna injure him.
Yeah, he's gonna blow his wheel.
He's too too explosive.
Too much?
Yeah, and so I've gotten out of clicking jar cards. But yes, injuries were a factor with Golden State, but they also did some things right. They're Jordan Poole, in my opinion, it's probably I haven't made my mind up yet who I would keep, Jordan Poole, Klay Thompson, because it's an argument.
I will
Curry and Klay are better net rating with Thompson off the floor.
I will say the thing that surprises me is, it's still time. It takes a while to recover from that kind of injury, but he hasn't looked the same defensively. A lot of people have noticed since the return.
Well, even offensively, like he can explode, like we know Klay can, but he's just inconsistent outside of his exploding periods. Look, I'd still take Game 6 Klay over any version of Jordan Poole. But
any version of almost any player in both teams.
You could take a Game 6 Klay over a Jordan and have a solid argument there, because Game 6 Klay's numbers are insane. But there's definitely an argument to be had around Klay and Thompson. But back to what Golden State have been doing well, it's, to be honest, it comes to Draymond, man. When you watch the Golden State Warriors, he is a part of almost every play. He initiates so much on offense. His passing, Dre doesn't get half the love he deserves. And
it's the symbiosis of him and Curry, because if you take either one of them out, the team drops off dramatically. But when they're together, they just work on such level because they complement each other so well.
This is why the argument is, does Golden State have a Klay Thompson problem? Because when he's on the floor with Curry and Draymond, they both don't play as well. They play better with him off the floor. And that's probably just a result of Klay being injured for 2 years and not playing and synergizing with these guys. But it's just an interesting aspect to look at, because Jordan Poole, to me, I actually think he's better with the ball than Curry. He's a step faster. He's a step craftier. Curry's obviously Curry, but Jordan Poole, to me, is the X factor for the Warriors.
Well, you almost don't want Curry on the ball, because it's, again, the Jordan thing. If you've got the ball, the eyes are on you. You want to be moving without the ball, and that's where Curry is absolutely lethal.
The best, in my opinion, he's the best off-ball player in history of the
Him
game.
and Jordan, honestly.
Yeah, well, yeah. I think I'd take Curry off-ball over Jordan.
Because of the three-point threat, I think, is where it becomes dangerous.
Exactly. It's because of the three-point threat. I think Curry has to be in that conversation. But, okay, head-to-head. Celtics, Golden State. Who do you think wins?
I'm saying the Warriors in 6.
In 6?
I think.
So how do you think it goes down? Everyone wins home court and then Warriors?
No, I think there'll be splits. It's interesting to me. I feel like this would be, geographically, it's the second furthest distance between franchises. So what a time to go back to the 2-2-1-1-1 format. 2-3-2. If it was 2-3-2, I would be tempted to take Boston just because of that section in the middle.
Yeah.
But I think it plays out probably tied after 4 games, and then Golden State close out the last 2.
So you think
I think it'll be a close series.
You think tit for tat, and then Golden State.
The experience, and I think the thing with Klay is the more he gets reps in with them, that's the thing. It's the risk reward. They might have that negative in the short run, but in the long run, the risk will pay off for that, because we know what Klay can do.
What's the main thing Golden State has to do to win the series?
I think you've kind of nailed it to Poole. Like, Curry can't be the sole carrying force, and it's not just that way. But if he's able to not have to be the entire focal point, then Boston will be in big trouble.
So you're saying that the other players have to step up for them to win.
I think we know what Curry can do. I don't think it's entirely that he'll think this way, but his first opportunity to probably have a solid shot at that Finals MVP as well. Like, I don't think you're going to have to worry about him showing up.
Okay,
I don't think that's going to be an
issue. On the other floor, what does Boston have to do to win this series?
I think they have to make it as ugly as they possibly can. The Warriors are a good defensive team, but that's Boston's
number 2 in the league.
That's Boston's DNA. They have to make it ugly. They have to make it like the Miami series.
Okay. Yeah, for me, what Golden State have to do is they've got to be way more consistent on offense here. In my opinion, Klay is the key here. If Klay can step up and be the splash brother that everyone knows he can be, between him, Curry, and Poole, two of the 3 might have a bad night, but I think
If 2 of the 3 have a good game, then Boston's in trouble.
2 of the 3 have a good game, Boston trouble. So for me, it's just it's hard, man, because the Celtics, their defense is they switch everything, and every defender's elite.
It's borderline a miracle how good Horford's been. Can I say, by the way?
I know it's like he's become.
He is a time machine.
I know he is so elite on defense, and shout out to Giannis for dunking and flexing on him, because that moment when he said, okay, that's when it fucking changed, and he become our bloody Horford, man. But I think what Golden State have to do is Clay. Clay has to be the difference maker. He has to be the guy that can give you 30 points in a quarter. Like, he has to be that much of a threat.
Doesn't even have to be 30. It's just, if it's a tight game.
But mid, you know what I mean? Like, because he can explode for 30 in any given quarter. He has to be going back to that guy. Because when Clay's in rhythm, man, that is such a beautiful game to watch. Clay in rhythm, Steph and Dre feeding him. I love it. I love watching Clay in rhythm more than I love watching any other player, even KD, but only when he's in rhythm. So, yeah, Golden State, Clay has to be the guy. Clay's got to be the guy. Now, what Boston have to do, there's 2 things Boston have to do. One, they need to
tighten up the shot selection.
No. They need to not fold under the bright lights.
You think they've got
Golden State have been there before.
Their DNA hasn't been there so far. I hate to say this again as a Lakers fan. Their DNA hasn't been folding in the first 3 series.
What I'm saying,
they haven't looked like it.
What I'm saying is the finals is a different beast. You've got playoff basketball and then you've got finals basketball. Boston,
I think it's the quality of the team as well.
How many of them have been to the finals on that team? Yeah, exactly my point. None of them. And that's a beast in itself. That's a beast in itself. Going and playing a finals against a team that's a dynasty. So Boston need to not fold under the bright lights, and their defense has to be as elite as it was against KD.
I will say historically, it's rare for a team to be on the rise and not have even got to the finals and fell at the final hurdle. It's rare for a team to ascend straight to winning a title, especially against a team that has won a title.
Exactly.
You're 100% right on that.
Exactly. So for Boston to come away with this, Tatum's got to do his thing, Brown's got to do his thing, but their defense has to be as elite as it was. Some of the best defense I've ever seen is against the Brooklyn Nets this year. What they did to KD and those boys was some of the best defense I've ever seen. In my opinion, I honestly, man, I want to be able to say the Celtics are going to win because I've got a finger in both pies here. I don't know who's going to win this year. I can't make my mind up, man, because if I look at it strictly from a defensive point of view, Boston on paper should be able to lock these kids up. They don't have a genuine big on the Golden State Warriors. They've got Dre, who can play any position really. Bielitsa, and then Looney. None of those guys are massive offensive threats. Celtics are one of the best perimeter defensive teams in the league, so they're gonna be able to clamp some of the perimeter shots.
There'll be some ugly games.
But to say that, this is the Warriors who've been there before they have
a much more diverse offense than what Brooklyn has.
And they have as beautiful basketball as I've seen the Spurs play. So
it's better than Spurs, let's be honest.
Well, no, not. I mean, I don't know.
I'm not saying Kerr's a better coach, but I will say the talent on the team, I think, different.
But I'm talking about coach, set plays. I'm talking about the whole dynamic of a team. That Spurs team was the most beautiful basketball up there. But anyway, the point is, these teams are so well balanced, in my opinion, that it's going to be hard. It's
two
hard.
genuine finals contenders.
Yeah, it's hard for me to pick. I really don't understand the people who criticize that this is going to be one of the most boring finals because they think the Golden State Warriors are just going to sweep the Celtics. I'm like, how can you say that?
I mean, I think the worst case scenario would be 5 games. I don't think they'd sweep them. They could win them 5. If Golden State's just on from game 1.
This goes 6 or 7 in my opinion. And it's whoever can win both home games first will win the title. So if Boston...
And if they split... Now, if they do 2 each?
If they 2 each, it's going to come down probably... I want to say Celtics, but the realist in me says those guys have been there before. But it's hard. Whoever wins... If you win at home, you're going to win. I'll put it that way. If whoever loses the first home game.
So you think the Phil Jackson rule's in effect?
I do. Now let's entertain the idea that Boston win. Jason Tatum becomes one of the best players in the NBA. Top 10 guaranteed, top 5 probably.
Top 5's tough. I don't see 5.
How do you not see 5?
Giannis.
Who they beat?
Giannis,
who they bounced?
You can't compare
Why not?
a complete team to one player. Because I think if you take the best player off Boston, best player off Milwaukee, Boston creams them.
Is Tatum an elite defender? Yes.
Yes.
Is he an elite scorer?
Yes.
Is he a great passer?
He's a good passer.
He's a great passer. What is Giannis? He's exact same things.
You can't make it based on the profile because it's the Kobe and LeBron argument in so much as Kobe was a more complete scorer than LeBron, but LeBron didn't need to be a complete scorer. He just needed to get to the rim.
But LeBron was better at passing, better at playmaking.
No, but I'm talking in terms of you could say maybe Tatum's more complete, more well-rounded a player. I don't think you can say he's a better player than Giannis because Giannis will have a bigger
No, but I
impact on
didn't
the
say
game.
the best player in the league. I said top 5. So you said Giannis. Okay, Giannis is up there.
Giannis.
Yep.
Joker. You don't take Joker over.
Look, man.
You don't take Joker.
I'm trying to like Joker. I don't have any reason not to like the guy, but
Curry.
I just.
You don't agree with Curry?
Curry's up there.
KD's
up there.
Right. And then just to round it out,
Embiid.
Are we basing it on this year or just in general in the
Just
NBA?
the best player in the NBA this year and last year. This year
okay.
and the year coming.
So Kawhi's out then.
Yeah, Kawhi's out.
Okay.
The only other player is Embiid that's in that conversation.
Embiid's there.
Now, do I take Jason Tatum over Embiid and Joker? Yes, I do. Do I take Jason Tatum over Steph Curry as the best player in the league? I don't know. So it's in my opinion, top 5.
Okay, he's on the borderline argument for it. I see it.
Great. Okay. Does Steph Curry, if he wins the chip this year, enter the top 10 all-time list?
It'd be hard not to because that's 4 NBA championships.
Yep.
Finals MVP, multiple MVPs. The only unanimous MVP. Impact to the game unquestioned, arguably as big an impact as anyone in history.
I think probably had the biggest impact on the game outside of rule-changing Wilt Chamberlain.
Yeah. It's almost every stat, right?
Curry
everyone except for Wilt.
Curry literally changed the way teams played basketball. Not
generationally.
Hey, throw 2 guys at him and we'll solve it that way. This is, guys, we can't play certain defenses as a whole team because we have this shooter who's got the green light to shoot from anywhere. He changed everything. And when you take that into consideration, it's probably one of the only things today we're going to agree on is Steph Curry, if he wins this year,
has a place in the top 10.
And we're not going to sit and discuss now who he edges out because everyone has their own subjective list. But one thing you cannot deny, and I don't care if you disagree with me or Tim, Steph Curry, if he wins another title this year, because he beats LeBron in terms of rings.
I mean...
And that's
are we doing rings counts?
Well, who ate on Jordan's watch? Nobody.
Hakeem.
He was playing baseball. That's not
why.
He was playing baseball.
He's said it in Last Dance himself. He couldn't have won them. He couldn't have won 8 straight.
No, he could have.
He was tired.
He could have. But he was playing baseball. No one ate on Jordan's watch. LeBron, you have a ring. You have a ring. Cue the Oprah meme. You have a ring. Everyone eats on LeBron's watch.
Anyway, let's not. No, you've opened it, so let's do it. Jordan was post expansion. There's dilution. It factors into it. It's not to rule it out entirely.
Whoa. What do you mean?
So expansion, Orlando, Miami.
No. But what do you mean by that?
So the quality of the league was diluted. So the teams he faced weren't as good as the teams of the last 15, 20 years.
Hang on. Can I rewind you back to an argument you and I have had about rings pre-merger not counting because there was only X amount of teams? You're now trying to use that argument for your benefit here. Can I get some...
The talent pool on the planet is bigger than it was in the 60s.
No. Hang on. You're using my own argument against me, so I'm going to take that as a win, thank you. Look, wearing green has got you thinking like a true blood Celtic, my friend, and I love it. Anyway, take the L on that. Thank you very much. Yes, continue. Dilution.
Dilution in Jordan's case. He faced great it's actually the Boston argument from this year. He faced great players. He didn't necessarily face as great teams.
Yep. Okay. Fair. But the point still stands that
it's the body of work. It's
the
not
point
just one
still
factor.
stands that that's LeBron's legacy takes a hit there. But let's not talk about LeBron. I'm sick of it. Back to Curry. He enters top 10 of all time if he wins this year. He doesn't, in my opinion, have to win Finals MVP for that to happen.
But I think if Golden State wins, there's not really an argument. He'd probably be the driving force. Although Andre Iguodala has a trophy cabinet that will disagree.
To be honest, and even if Iggy didn't get it, Dre had a case if he didn't get suspended. So, look, I don't.
That 2015 he didn't get suspended.
I don't think Curry has to win Finals MVP to win.
Do it, but it would help.
Because one, Curry come down the floor and take every single shot and not be good for it? Yeah, because he's Stephen Curry. But he doesn't. He plays team ball because he knows it's going to win. So it comes down to those things that what are the things he does off ball, what are the things he does that aren't measured, that count towards Finals MVP, and it just happened to be a Iguodala that year. So we both agree on that. Where I think we're going to disagree, KD. My guy, KD. What happens to KD's legacy if Golden State win?
His brethren gets it up on him. I love that. You haven't seen that?
No.
Calling Draymond brethren on Twitter for calling him out for
actually,
listening to
no, I did
takes.
see that. I watched that podcast just this morning. Actually, it was to be honest, whoever fed that to KD gave it an astute because Dre gave him his flowers, man.
That was Dre's point though. He didn't read it properly. He just reacted. He's getting caught up in these.
Yeah, no. Yeah, but you can see how that happens. Look at this. It's a quick little blurb from a thing, and then boom, here, But that's KD, right? So Dre should have expected
reactionary.
That. Anyway, does his legacy take a hit if Golden State win?
100%. 100% does, because it puts a different context.
Hell no.
Let me finish. Puts a different context on his success in the past. If you're not able to replicate success outside of a vacuum, then it questions why it happened while it was in the vacuum. Was it Curry? Was Curry the reason KD was
everyone knows it was KD. Everyone knows KD's the reason that they became the juggernaut team and unstoppable. Even Curry knows
it was because
that.
they were a great team that added a piece that fit.
A great team that lost in the finals that needed help. That needed someone to beat the second greatest player of all time.
They needed someone. 3 Hall of Fame players, and you add in a guy who's in the MVP discussion.
And they lost.
Yeah.
So what? They run it back and lose again?
1986, 1987. The Showtime Lakers lose one year. Boston, including Larry, who'd won 3 MVPs, loses next. Do you think that means they needed help?
If they lost the game, they weren't good. If they lost the finals, they weren't good enough to win it.
So they reloaded with the same team the next year, came back and won.
They make changes. Golden State did what they needed to do to win the title.
What if Boston's reaction in 87 was picking up Jordan?
Wait. Different. We're talking different, much different. Let's talk a bit about the point that I'm trying to make here is why does his legacy take a hit?
Because it shines a different light on what's already happened.
In what way?
History isn't just written in the moment, it's written in the context of the light through which you can view it. If KD's gone elsewhere, failed with the Nets, failed with OKC, his only success...
Has he failed, though, or has his team failed?
I mean, you could say he failed this year, pretty spectacularly, I might add.
How? He's the reason this team are there in the first place. They were fighting for a play-in with him. So, okay, give me points. Why does KD's legacy take a hit here? If Golden State win.
Losing in the finals is a joke, what's losing in the first round?
No, why does his legacy take a hit? I'm genuinely curious. Why? Because he lost in the first round?
Yeah.
Why did KD leave the Warriors?
Because he felt like he wasn't getting a proportionate credit for the success.
This is my problem. Everybody ripped the guy for going there. Called it the weakest move, yada yada. The chips don't mean anything. He leaves and everyone rips him for leaving. It's a lose-lose for the guy.
No. The context is if he just wanted to go there, if he just wanted success, he could have just stayed there. That's fine.
Exactly. What did he want?
For him to win there and then say, I'm going to go elsewhere and prove that I'm a better player, and then not do it.
He didn't do it to prove he's the best player. He did it because it was in a losing situation. If he had stayed and they dominated the next 5 years, all of the haters would have said, "Oh, you joined us in a win team." Yada
Who
yada
holds
yada.
it against Magic or Kareem that
Yada,
they won
yada.
titles together now?
If now he's leaving, you guys are saying, "Oh, well, he's an idiot for leaving. He should have stayed with
I'm
Golden
not saying
State."
he's an idiot for leaving.
If he
But
KD left,
it hurts his legacy.
it doesn't hurt his legacy. KD left Golden State Warriors because he was grilled by the media for not being that guy, not being able to do it himself. So he tries to go and do it himself.
And doesn't do it.
That's not his fault. Does he control injuries? Is he
Okay.
why did Boston lose last year?
So-
injuries. Why did Boston lose this year? Injuries.
That's the whole thing.
How
Like,
does this affect his legacy when the things that are he's presented with are things out of his control? I'd agree, sure. If he had a fully healthy team, played like shit, got bounced, I'd get it, and I'd probably be more inclined to be like, come on, dude. But he literally last year put the team on his back, nearly beat the defending champions.
I think Giannis is proof of what can happen even as the solo guy on a team. Because Giannis' team didn't play particularly well around him this year. Giannis's performance was in a completely different class to KD's.
Giannis would have still been bounced in the first round had they met Boston. It doesn't mean anything.
But in 4 games.
Doesn't mean anything. Still would have lost. You've got to remember, who did they have on their team? Half-man Kyrie.
Okay, Kyrie
Half-man Kyrie.
Kyrie Irving, former multi-time All-Star.
Because you have to remember, they set up the Brooklyn Nets team around 3 core guys. One of them left, so they gave away disproportionate assets to get that one guy who left. And what do they get back? An injured Ben Simmons who didn't play, who got ridiculed for not playing and then had surgery after the finals.
Do you know what the silver lining to this is? I know this is slightly getting off the KD thing, but the silver lining to this, the Nets don't want to keep Kyrie. KD isn't going to stay if Kyrie doesn't stay.
That's, yeah.
What's the next chapter for KD then?
I don't know. No, actually, I do know. What does KD want to do? KD wants to win basketball games. He wants to. He lives and breathes basketball. Other players, and this is a fact around the league. Other players, basketball is not the most important thing in their life. For basketball, it is the most important thing in KD's life. So KD's going to do what KD has to do 2 things, in my opinion: cement his legacy, which is win basketball championships, and get away from all that drama and noise. So if he doesn't sign with Brooklyn, I don't know what happens, man. I really don't.
The cap situation is not looking good for the teams that have cap space. Aren't the teams you want to be on?
No, and it's just So does his legacy take a hit? In my opinion, it doesn't. It doesn't take a hit at all, because he was damned if he stayed and he was damned if he left. People were going to ridicule him regardless. What we have to take into consideration when all said and done, MVP, 2-time finals MVP, multiple-time champion, probably the most skilled player in the history of the game. And that's what I'm saying. If he wins one more chip somewhere else, he enters top 10.
I think, yeah. So it's not quite feast or famine, but if he wins another title, it cements his spot and all the positive stuff about it. If he fails to, then it kind of gives more weight to the negative stuff.
Well, again, and this is where I'm saying, can his legacy take a hit? Yeah. If he doesn't amount to anything in the next 3 or 4 years and he just kind of
bounces around
and yeah, his legacy might take a hit then, because then the argument is, well, he was only successful with Golden State. Yeah, I get that, but we're not there yet. Does his legacy take a hit just because Golden State are in the finals? No. Golden State were a championship caliber team.
How's the Brooklyn Nets watching party for Kyrie watching Boston in the finals and KD watching Golden State?
Let's not talk about Kyrie, because that guy, I used to be a little bit pro Kyrie. Obviously, he came to Boston. I never quite bought into him anyway, but now it's got to a point where, okay, dude, you got the bag, you got all the moves in the bag. It doesn't translate to anything because you don't work well. I mean, if anyone should feel like a clown, it's Kyrie in Boston, because he wanted out of there. And he could have been in the finals with these guys.
But he understands.
What does he understand?
He understands.
What does he understand?
He understands.
He understands all he is good for is that one shot. That's it. And
do you know what? I'll give a shout out to his Twitch. His impression of a Boston fan was just amazing.
Oh, that was not amazing. The only thing amazing was just playing GTA.
Well, yeah.
That was the only amazing thing about it. But okay.
It's not an accurate impression, but you can feel the bitterness coming through.
I know. But no, Kyrie's just turned into a sideshow for the NBA, and they don't need it. What is it? Because what does he actually produce for you?
Nike's.
What does he produce
Nike
for you,
feels
man?
the same way.
And it's got to a point now with Kyrie, like, if you look around the league and you go, okay, next 3 to 4 years, 3 to 5 years, who's going to dominate? What teams are going to win? It's long, athletic, strong teams. That's Kyrie's kryptonite. Celtics he looked like a schoolboy playing against high schoolers out there. Like he was small, he couldn't score. Kyrie,
it was a college player entering the NBA.
Yeah, and ISO ball. Are we seeing the end of ISO? Are we seeing the end of ISO play, man? Because the Celtics have shown us that switching on everything works.
It's cyclical. There'll always be a cycle of as the rules change and as you get evolution that swings back and forth. But yeah, it's
I don't know if everything cycles, because I think we have truly seen the end of the slow, clunky big man era. I don't think that's ever going to happen.
All it takes is a rule change and things swing back.
I don't think so, man. Because if you look at FIBA, how they play, they put they put 2 twin towers and they just sit in the paint. European basketball, that's all they do. They sit in the paint, chuck 2 twin towers in there, and they just feast on anyone driving to the hole. So that reward big, clunky, slow guys who don't have to spread the floor. NBA is different. NBA is way different. You can't clog the paint. You got shooters everywhere. So we've seen big, clunky, slow men kind of fade out. And that's been what's interesting about Steven Adams is I don't consider him like a Chris Kaman, big lug down the court, but he's also not a Rob Williams who is solid but quick as hell. So my point was there, he didn't see a lot of play time in the playoffs. Adams did, because of his speed and his size and his mobility. So
Heatcheck against Golden State more than any team, arguably.
Yes, but Golden State now is your typical basketball. It's fast. It's shooting. It's cutting. It's back cuts. It's all that. And that's why I think if Boston can switch on everything and really clamp these guys, it's a great series. But okay, moving on. We're going to talk a little bit about the teams who didn't quite get there. And one team that I thought did better or overperformed was the Mavericks.
100%.
They did pretty bloody good for what they were given and the players that they had.
Much like Boston, their second half of the season was impressive, outstanding almost.
Yep.
And I think no one expected them to get that far, so for them to perform the way they did, it's shades of something you don't like. Dame Lillard overperforming and knocking out a team that's better, that could have been a contender.
Yeah, could have been a contender, that's right. But, I mean, they did have Luka, and Luka's an interesting case study, man, because, again, let's play a little game. When we go on, and we've done it before. When you're smaller, and we've done it on wrestling games. When you create your own player, what's the first thing you do? You max out everything: height, length, strength, ability, and you try and have this abnormally
imposing force.
You have a KD, right? If you're playing a video game, you
100%.
make a 7 foot tall guard,
or they make LeBron point guard.
Exactly. Or in the wrestling games, you get the biggest, strongest guy with the longest limbs because he's going to be able to hurt someone. So the point I'm trying to get is, Luke is the opposite of what you would make in 2K. He is slow, unathletic. I
wouldn't say unathletic, but not not astounding.
Comparatively, he's unathletic. Comparatively to
superstars
and anyone else in the league, he would be in the lower 30% of the athleticism of the NBA. Most of those guys are jumping 40 inches, and that's just not Luka. The point I'm trying to make is this. He is so surprisingly good at offense that it plays down his defense because he's not your typical body for an NBA player. Him and Joker. That's why those two are really interesting, because they're just, you don't look at them like, wow, those guys are going to give me 50 tonight, and they could do it on any given night. And he reminds me a lot of Dirk. But Dirk, you could at least see it because he was 7 feet tall. Luka,
he was a unicorn, the OG unicorn.
The OG unicorn. Dingus Bingus should have been, but we get to the argument that I see a lot of, which is, who is the best Maverick of all time? Who's the better player? Who would you rather have? Luka and Dirk. Now, it's blasphemous to even try and think of this conversation now because Luka's only been in the league a few years, but he's that good. Who is better all time, in your opinion? Right? Who would you take right now? Prime Dirk or Luka right now?
Prime Dirk becomes an interesting question because do you mean 2007 Dirk or 2011 Dirk? 2007 Dirk,
well,
we saw
pick your poison, really, because 2011 Dirk is a championship Dirk.
Let's say we can bottle 2011 Dirk. You take him 10 times out of 10.
Really?
He's a ceiling raiser, an outstanding performer.
Are you calling Dirk a better Maverick than Luka Doncic?
I don't think that's a controversial opinion.
Are you saying Dirk is better than Luka?
100%. I think if you're drafting the two, let's say you're going to get 5 years of each. Luka starting now 5 years.
Oh, you take Luka 10 times out of 10.
Or you take 7 for 11 Dirk.
You take Luka 10 times out of 10.
You think?
100%.
You reckon?
Offensively, he's 10 times better than Dirk. Without a doubt. And I love Dirk. He's one of my favorite players.
I think the impact of again, MVP.
Okay, hang on. You take Luka now, then any version of Dirk. Any version of Dirk. The only way I would entertain this argument, Tim, is if we play the theoretical game of, okay, in which era are we playing? If we're playing in the
2011 or earlier.
If we're playing pre-3-point revolution, no, I still take Luka now that I think about it, because it doesn't matter, because you rewarded back in the day, you rewarded bigs who shot in the mid-range. Luka's thriving in an era where perimeter D is way better, and he's still cooking people.
I think the spacing gets hurt if he goes back in time. I don't think that helps him. Dirk played in that era.
It absolutely helps him.
The spacing being more clogged helps.
Yeah, helps Luka 100%. He'll just light it up from the three. No one will. If Luka played back then, he'd be the greatest 3-point shooter we've seen. He'd be that good.
That is a scolding hot take.
Luka right now, if you put Luka 10 years ago in the league, he would be the best 3-point shooter in the league. By far. And defenses wouldn't know what to do with him, just like they didn't know what to do with Curry when he broke out. Which is why, interesting fact actually, is have you heard the problem around blowouts? And how the NBA has a blowout problem? Since the Curry revolution of 3-pointers, the losing margin in blowouts has just exploded. And it's something that the NBA are considering and looking at and wondering, okay, how do we stop this? Because blowout games obviously not good television.
It's not good for their ratings.
It's not good for their ratings. But ever since and this is another feather in Curry's cap, ever since the Curry 3-point revolution, blowouts have just exploded in the 3-point revolution. So the NBA are looking at how they can fix the blowout problem. And Colin Cowherd, actually, who I don't often like.
Sorry. But
I don't like him just because of his spawn Nick Wright, really. That's the only reason I don't really like Colin. He created one of those little monster kids, when parents raise those children who weren't disciplined and they'd say and do weird shit. And
but they're pretty good at naming finals MVPs, aren't they?
Well, exactly. But that's who Nick Wright reminds of, just like a little spoiled brat who can just say and do whatever he wants without any hard facts, and he wears his... Anyway, we're getting off topic. The point is, Colin had a very good argument as to how they could stop the blowout problem, and it was basically changing the 3-point line so that the corner 3 isn't a problem. So it was easier to guard. So the 3-point basically ran to about 2 meters off the corner. If you can think like a semicircle that kind of would look like that, as opposed to all the way around the rim. And what it does for spacing and stretching is it means you can hedge more on the top of the 3 without getting cooked in a corner or a back cut, and it's only worth 2. So that was his thing. But anyway,
I do like the idea of cutting the 3-point off in the corners, because those corner shots hurt. Well, it's a shorter distance, and it just
spaces the floor so much. And there's only so many 7-footers in the world. A large proportion of them are going to be big.
How many corner free specialists does that screw though? Guys who are specific corner free specialists.
But does it? Because if you go back to finals games,
Allen for free.
If you go back to finals games, they were only won by 4 to 5 points on average back in the day. Now sometimes you have blowouts, and again it's because of the 3-point. Anyway, back to Luka, back to Dirk. There's no way Dirk at any point of his career was better than Luka is now.
I think he makes a bigger impact to winning. I think I get your point about his efficiency ratings and his win shares and things like that might not tidy up as well as Luka's does. Luka, I think, obviously has much more of an impact as a playmaker and as a tempo setter for a team. But I think, again, it's arguably one of the greatest individual runs of the modern era. There's no way you don't take Dirk.
Yeah, you don't take Dirk. You take Luka. You take Luka 10 times out of 10, and I would die on that hill. I love Dirk. Dirk is one of my favorite players of all time. I have about 6 that I rotate, and he's number 6. Dirk's my. You take Luka, and I don't care what you or anyone says. Lakers keeping Westbrook. That was very interesting to me.
Man, I'm not catching any breaks today. We're wearing this, and now we're hearing about the Lakers are unwilling to move Russell Westbrook and give up assets doing so.
Who wants him? I've heard Charlotte wanted him. That's not good for LaMelo.
A lot of the stuff isn't like blatant. I think the Houston stuff, just no, not at no point.
Why are they keeping on Westbrook?
I think the thought process is, well, there's two things. Let's say we're taking them at their word. They don't want to give up future assets to get rid of a bad contract that they've backed themselves into a corner on. When during the hiring process, Starvin Ham being the guy they ended up going with, they were interviewing the head coach candidates and asking them how they would incorporate Russell Westbrook into their plans, which is a worrying sign as a Lakers fan, considering the evidence we have from the last 12 months. But nonetheless, it seems like that's the plan. Now, ultimately, the optimist in me says the reason they're saying that publicly is they don't want to make it obvious that they're trying to get rid of him, because they're only going to get terrible offers if that's the case. Now, they're not going to get good offers, but the point is, if they can swing it into something more advantageous.
Yeah, they're trying to drive his stock up by saying we still want him, we still think
we're committed. Yeah. We're committed to having him on the team.
He's a great player. He just didn't work well with our system last year.
We're going to install a new system like Mike Brown did.
Yeah, I get what you're trying to say there.
They've got the Princeton offense next year.
Look, I'm not gonna. As much as I love to see you struggle and squirm, I'm not going to talk too much about the Lakers because they're just not relevant this year. Then they're not going to be relevant next year. Let's talk.
It doesn't take long. If it wasn't for basketball reasons, could you imagine Dwight, Kobe, and CP3 on the same team? We were 48 hours away from that.
Dwight, Kobe, CP3 won't work. Wouldn't work. Anyway,
they were all on the All NBA first team that year.
The Phoenix. Your friends, the Phoenix.
They are in trouble.
Did anyone really, if we sit back and think, did anyone really think Phoenix and Miami were actually going to win anything this year? Sure, they were the number one seeds. Yeah, but did anyone sit back and go, they're going to win?
The West runs for them? No.
Devin Booker was like a 19-20 win guy before CP3, and he's acting like he's bloody...
The two greatest words in sports. Game 7.
Game 7, yeah. Eric Spoelstra tried to pull that crap on his team, didn't he? And let's just talk a bit about Haslam. Oh, Jesus. He's like that cringe guy that they just need to get rid of. I get it. He's a locker room guy. He's a veteran. But if I'm an NBA player and I'm one of the best guys on my team, I do not need Udonis Haslam, who was never the best player on any team, telling me... being
your mascot, basically.
Yeah,
borderline.
I don't understand these locker room guys who weren't actually any good. If you're gonna, because if your job,
it's good if you're important to your team, but if you're not doing that out on the floor, then.
Well, the thing is, Marcus Smart, right? He was always like that guy, but he would back it up defensively and be the decoy. Boom. Okay, he's got a bit of ground to stand on. So when he talks, people listen. When Udonis Haslam talks, who's going to listen? And why would they listen to you? Why would Jimmy Buckets listen to you? So when he's down there shaking his head, it's like, man, I get it. You're just trying to worm your way into a coaching role. I get it, but nah, man, that's not happening. Anyway, sorry, I got off topic there, but. Phoenix, I never thought we're going to win.
They're in trouble. I will say they're in trouble with Ayton now because, maybe that's a bullet dodge. Maybe they don't think he's worth the max. But what's their future then? You've got CP3, who's on a ridiculous contract.
Who's old and sure, he's playing well, but he's
37.
He's 37.
He's the wrong side of 37.
He's going down and pre-CP3, they're a bad team.
Do you think he
bad team.
Do you think he broke his vegan diet and they took away his powers?
Oh, who knows? Who knows? You just remind me of Kyrie and Ramadan. But look, Phoenix are forever going to be irrelevant in my opinion. They just Booker.
I will say on a minor scale, we alluded to the Knicks a few podcasts ago. They have a Robert Sava problem. They have an owner who's not committed to winning.
Got it. Well, and I don't know, Ayton, Booker. I see them having a ceiling kind of like your CJ McCollums and your Bradley Beals. They're not superstars. They never will be, but they're stars. They're good. They can give you some decent points. But I don't see Booker being that guy. I don't see
Ayton being that guy.
I think
the Kobe and Shaq comparisons are just even worse now.
I know. It's terrible. Should Booker have made the first team? I don't know about that. First team shouldn't be based on position, by the way, because that someone made a great point that how could Joel Embiid be on the second team, but he was second in MVP ratings? That shouldn't be a thing.
MVP is not just about the best player in the league, though.
That shouldn't be a thing.
Narrative.
That shouldn't be a thing. Like if you are like the NBA all first team should have been Giannis,
the 5 best players you can put on the floor.
Yeah, not just the best point guard, the best shooting, and that's how Devin Booker made it. And I don't think that's right, making the NBA first team that way. But yeah, Phoenix I think are pretty screwed. Miami are always going to be a good franchise. They'll run really well. They've got great championship culture. Pat Riley is one of the GOATs. Miami are forever going to be a good team. But what can they do with what they've got? I don't know.
I think the understanding is they've got the assets to swing for maybe not a superstar, but like a borderline with a few pieces here and there. So, I mean, it'll be interesting.
Does that get it done with a full strength
think
Brooklyn
guys,
Nets, full strength Giannis?
I'm assuming they're keeping Jimmy and Bam, but everyone else is potentially on the table. Now, I think you keep Lowry because I think he's...
Oh, no, Lowry's
You keep him because he's not necessarily enough of an asset. He takes away assets that we bring in trade. So you have to trade away upside on your young guys. I don't think Lowry helps in any of their trades at all.
I would take no, I'm not. Fuck Lowry. For the lack of a better word.
Wow.
We just got to wrap up. We've been going quite a while, Timmy. Nearly an hour, over an hour. Let's just talk quickly about
some quick hitters.
Philly. What happens next for Philly, man?
I mean, you can take your pick. What's Harden's future? Harden's got a consistent pattern here. It's crumbling like apple pie.
And is he gone? Is he forcing another way out?
Yeah, but like KD, what's his next move? Is there a move you can make if you're Harden that doesn't just give you washed status?
Harden, but this is the thing. 3-and-D guys stick around a long time. Harden, he doesn't play D, and he's a step slower on offense. And
it was a noticeable decline this year. It was not what was expected when they got him in the trade.
And then even Joel, what happens with Embiid? It's tough to predict a Philly situation because how long can you say trust the process? And this should have been the result of the process.
I think Embiid's that guy, but I don't think they've got the right mix. I don't think they have the right assets. They bet on the wrong horse. They had a position where they had Jimmy. They put Ben over him, and they kept Tobias Harris over him. Like, it's unforgivable. If you're a Philly fan, you can't really forgive the front office.
I don't know if and this is what makes me struggle to buy into the Joker and the Embiid argument is they're bigs who shoot, they don't play true big positions, right? And while they're good in the post, they're not dominant like a Giannis is in the post. And so when I look at Embiid and I look at Joker, I think, okay, they're that guy, but they're on the perimeter or they play too far away from the basket for my liking. And that comes at a cost. If you're a 7-footer and you're playing 20 feet from the basket, what the hell are you doing there? You're more useful to the team in so many ways.
I guess it's inverted
efficiency,
spacing,
rebounds, defense, so much other things closer to the hoop. I don't like these bigs who play super far on the perimeter. Because Giannis being the exception, because Giannis can literally take 2 strides and be at the hoop. He is dominant. He's unstoppable in transition. He's unstoppable pretty close to the hoop. He's not on the perimeter as much as those other two. So is Embiid that guy? I don't know. He might be that guy on a team with another solid big, but he's definitely not the guy on the team as the big, in my opinion.
I think he needs... Well, Jimmy was a good example. I think he needs a free to go with him. He needs someone like Jimmy or like Kawhi. It doesn't have to necessarily be at that level, but that's the type of person that complements him well.
I think a Gobert.
You think Jimmy and Gobert and Embiid?
Yep. I think, like I said, 2 bigs. Because if Embiid's going to play away from the hoop over half of his possessions, you need someone.
And how does that look on the other end?
Terrible. But that's what I think.
It's not the fit.
This is why I don't think Embiid's the guy. So that's why I don't put any stock into Joker or Embiid, because bigs who play away from the hoop, I think, give up too much of their natural advantages that they give, that having a big gives you, in my opinion. Sure, they purposely play away from the hoop, and it makes no sense to me. Harden's done. Chicago missed their opportunity to be relevant at the trade deadline.
They looked so good in the
They looked so good.
half of the season.
And the trade deadline come, and they should have done something. They should have done more. I don't think they did anything in the trade deadline. They should have done more.
Do you think they can convince Levine to stay? Do you think Levine would have signed already?
These are those off-season moves that don't actually impact the league much, in my opinion.
You don't think Levine with the right team could make a difference?
Who, Lakers?
I don't know that I've heard that rumor brought up, but I think that's one of those leverage things.
Nah.
The only team I've really heard any traction of is Portland, and God, what's that going to do? What's that going to do?
Dame needs to just get out. Like, I wouldn't be mad at Dame for joining LeBron. I wouldn't. It makes the most sense in terms of championship.
I mean, assuming that's possible.
Yeah, but, Dame dying on that hill of trying to get it over the hump in Portland is just not working, dude, I wouldn't mind if he joined Golden State. I wouldn't mind.
Do you give him more credit than Charles if he just stays with Portland the whole time?
If he stays off as an analyst, yes, and doesn't run his mouth and call everyone this and that, yes. But what he but basketball aside, yeah, sure, he's he's rich as hell, he's living his best life, whatever. But you can't look at Dame and say he's doing it to be a champion. He's not. He's not in Portland to be a champion. He's just playing. He's just playing and earning his money. Because if you want to be a champion, you're not staying there. It's like saying if I want to be the mayor of Auckland, I can live in Hamilton and do it. It's like, no, you can't. If you have to go to Auckland and do it. Sorry, Dame, you've got to go to a contender to win. It's not going to happen.
It's not happening in Portland.
It's not happening in Portland, man. It's not happening in Portland. But Timmy, that's us. Thank you for joining us for episode number 5. Final predictions. I'm going to be brave. Celtics game 7.
Wow. I'm sticking with Warriors in 6.
Warriors in 6.
That's a smart money.
Yeah. Well, you guys like saying that, but you're talking about the best defense in the league. One of the team that ran through the entire East.
Let's take the basketball. It's a proven contender against an up-and-coming contender.
Yeah.
The money's always on the proven contender. They've shown that they have what it takes.
We just have to look at boxing and MMA and fighting to show that that's not always the smartest bet, though. They're hungrier. I mean, they're more athletic. I like the Celtics, and let's go Celtics in 7. We'll see you after the finals.
There'll be some yellow.
There will be a lot of yellow.